What if everything you've been chasing, success, happiness, clarity, isn't out there, but already inside you, waiting to be unlocked by one simple idea, not a trick, not a shortcut, just one shift in thinking that could completely transform how you live, lead, and love? This isn't just another motivational video. This is the message your future self has been waiting for. Stay with me, because one idea really can change everything. What if everything you've been chasing, success, happiness, respect, fulfillment, was never the problem? What if the real issue is that you've been asking the wrong questions? Most people spend their entire lives looking outward, searching for answers in books, podcasts, trends, apps, systems. They hustle. They grind. They wake up early, stay up late, do more, be more, want more. And yet they feel less alive, less certain, less fulfilled. Because the truth is, progress without clarity is just noise. Success without purpose is just pressure, and the one idea that changes everything, isn't external. It's not something you download. It's not something you can buy. It's something you remember. The most powerful idea you will ever discover is this: know your why, not your goals, not your to-do list, not your job title, your why, the reason you get out of bed in the morning, the fire behind your choices, the anchor when life gets chaotic, the foundation when everything else feels like it's shifting. When you know your why, you stop chasing every shiny thing. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else. You stop needing permission. You start leading instead of reacting. You start building instead of doubting. You start living instead of just existing. Think about it. The most inspiring people you've ever known didn't have all the answers. They didn't have perfect plans, but they had clarity, they had conviction, they knew what they stood for, and because of that, others stood with them. You can be one of those people, but it begins with this: stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "Why does this matter?" Because when your life is rooted in purpose, setbacks don't defeat you. They shape you. Delays don't discourage you. They develop you. Critics don't stop you. They refine you. Purpose gives pain a direction. It gives effort a meaning. It gives success a soul. Most people wake up every day with a to-do list, a calendar full of appointments, and a mind filled with pressure. Pressure to perform. Pressure to impress. Pressure to keep up. Society has conditioned us to measure our worth by how busy we are, how productive we appear, and how many boxes we check off before the sun goes down. But here's the hidden truth. Pressure without purpose is a fast road to burnout. It's a race you can't win because the finish line keeps moving. Every time you achieve something, the bar rises. Every time you meet expectations, new ones are placed on your shoulders. And in that endless cycle, people lose themselves. They lose joy. They lose meaning. They lose their sense of why they started in the first place. Purpose breaks that cycle. Purpose isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about finally understanding why there's a plate in the first place. When you operate from purpose, you don't just do things because you have to. You do them because they align with something deeper inside you. You're no longer living reactively, trying to keep up with what the world demands. You're living intentionally, choosing what matters most to you. That shift changes everything. It changes how you show up in your work, in your relationships, in your decisions. You stop trying to meet every demand, and you start committing to the things that matter. That's where energy comes from, not from hustle, but from meaning. When you have a clear sense of purpose, pressure doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable. You can endure difficult seasons because you understand what they're building. You can carry heavy loads because they're tied to something bigger than yourself. You don't need external motivation every morning because you're driven from within. That inner drive is stronger than fear, stronger than fatigue, stronger than the opinions of others. And when others around you are tired, frustrated, or lost, You still stand tall because your life has roots, roots that go deeper than performance metrics or social media likes. Purpose also brings clarity. It filters your choices. It teaches you what to say yes to, and more importantly, what to say no to. People without purpose say yes to everything, and eventually drown in overwhelm. But when you know what you stand for, you protect your time, your energy, and your focus. You stop trying to do everything, and you start doing the right things. That alone changes the trajectory of your life, because life isn't measured in how much you do. It's measured in how deeply you connect with what you do. It's measured in how aligned your actions are with your values, your beliefs, your mission. Purpose brings that alignment. It puts you back in the driver's seat, steering your life with vision instead of reacting to pressure. And the moment you make that shift, you feel it. Not just in your mind, but in your spirit. You feel lighter, stronger, sharper. You begin to move from a different place, a deeper place. Life is unpredictable. Plans fall apart, people change, the world moves fast, and sometimes it feels like everything around us is shifting all at once. In the middle of that chaos, most people look for something to hold on to, some kind of stability, a fixed point that doesn't move when everything else does. That fixed point is your why. It's not an external object you can lose. It's not someone else's opinion that can change. It's an internal compass, your personal truth, that stays constant, no matter what season you're in. When the noise gets loud, your why gets louder. When the path isn't clear, your why becomes the light that shows you where to step next. There's a reason people feel lost when they go through a life change, a job loss, a breakup, a failure. It's not just the event itself. It's the sudden absence of direction. When your sense of identity or security is tied to your circumstances, then every time those circumstances shift, you feel like you're starting over. But when your identity is rooted in purpose, when your why is strong, you don't start over, you pivot, you adjust your strategy without compromising your soul. You bend, but you don't break. You move, but you never drift. That's the power of knowing your why. Imagine being in a storm at sea. The waves are crashing, the sky is dark, and visibility is almost zero. If you don't have an anchor, you're at the mercy of the current. You'll drift wherever the wind takes you, but if you're anchored, you stay grounded, even when you can't see what's ahead. That's what purpose does. It anchors you. It holds you steady through seasons of uncertainty, rejection, and doubt. It gives you the courage to endure hard times because you know what you're enduring for asterisk. That understanding creates resilience, not the kind that just grits its teeth and pushes through, but the kind that thrives in pressure because it has direction. There will always be distractions. There will always be moments when you feel like giving up or giving in. But when you're deeply connected to your why, you can filter out the noise. You're not pulled in every direction by trends, temptations, or temporary feelings. You stay focused because you know what matters. That clarity makes you dangerous. In the best way, you become someone who doesn't just survive chaos, but grows stronger in it. You become someone who can lead others through uncertainty because you're not shaken by it. Every day brings new challenges, new choices, and new voices trying to influence your path. Without a strong why, you'll find yourself constantly adjusting to what others want or expect. But with a clear why, you make decisions from a place of conviction. You're no longer dependent on motivation, mood, or momentum. You're moved by something deeper, something that doesn't change when your circumstances do, something that keeps you steady, grounded, and focused, no matter what storms come your way. We live in a world that constantly measures success by how much we have: more money, more followers, more degrees, more awards, more recognition. The message is everywhere. If you just had a little more, you'd finally feel enough. You'd finally be fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't live in the numbers. It doesn't show up when you hit 1 million subscribers or drive the dream car. Fulfillment comes from meaning, not more, from depth, not just volume. And until you understand that, you'll keep climbing ladders that are leaning against the wrong walls. There are people who have everything the world told them to chase. They have the house, the job, the brand, the lifestyle, and yet they lie awake at night feeling hollow. That's not failure. That's success without purpose. It's winning on the outside and losing within. Because even when your schedule is full, your calendar is booked, and your resume is impressive, if there's no deeper meaning behind it, it all starts to feel like noise. And noise over time becomes unbearable. It drowns out your inner voice. It confuses you. It distracts you. It leaves you wondering why you're so exhausted when you've done everything right. More is not the answer if you're not fulfilled. More only amplifies the emptiness. More projects, more promotions, more productivity. These things can temporarily excite you, but they can't sustain you. What sustains you is meaning, knowing that what you do matters, that it's connected to something larger than ego or income. Meaning turns the mundane into mission. It turns ordinary days into intentional lives. When there's meaning behind your work, even the hard days have value. Even the small wins feel worth celebrating. Even the setbacks feel like part of the process rather than a sign to quit. Fulfillment is about alignment. It's about matching your actions to your values, your choices to your convictions. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things, the things that echo who you are, the things that light a fire in your spirit, the things that make you feel alive, even when they don't pay the most or look the most glamorous. When you're operating from meaning, you don't need validation to keep going. You're fueled by something internal, something that doesn't waver when opinions change or seasons shift. That's why you see people walk away from high, paying careers to start nonprofits, to teach, to create, to serve. They're not crazy, they're just awake. They've realized that a full bank account with an empty heart is not wealth, that a busy schedule without meaningful connection is not success. Fulfillment doesn't come from reaching the top if the climb required you to lose yourself. It comes from knowing who you are and living in alignment with that truth. When what you do is connected to why you do it, every task becomes a contribution. Every day becomes a step towards something that actually matters. You're no longer chasing more for the sake of more. You're building a life that feels meaningful, not just impressive. Everywhere you turn, people are obsessed with speed. How fast can you grow your brand? How quickly can you climb the ladder? How many steps can you skip to get ahead? Hustle culture teaches us that faster is always better, that moving quickly is the same as moving successfully. But there's a hidden cost in that mindset. When speed becomes the goal, direction is often ignored. And what's the point of moving fast if you're heading the wrong way? Progress isn't about acceleration. It's about alignment. Direction beats speed every single time. Too many people are sprinting through life, checking off goals, chasing the next big thing, only to realize they've been running in the wrong direction. They were climbing someone else's mountain, following someone else's blueprint. Living by someone else's definition of success, they moved fast, but they didn't move with intention. They were busy, but not purposeful, and when they finally stop to breathe, they're left with a haunting question: why does none of this feel right? Speed gives you the illusion of progress. It makes you feel like you're doing something meaningful simply because you're in motion, but motion is not the same as meaning. Activity is not the same as impact. Just because your schedule is full doesn't mean your life is full. And just because you're moving doesn't mean you're growing. Real growth requires clarity. It requires a pause. It requires asking the uncomfortable but necessary question: am I going the right way? Direction gives your steps purpose. It gives your time value. It filters out distractions disguised as opportunities. When you know where you're going and why you want to go there, you can move slower. and still be more effective than people who are rushing without clarity. You can say no to things that don't align without guilt. You can let go of the pressure to keep up because you're not running their race, you're running yours. We live in a culture that glorifies the grind, that praises those who never stop, never sleep, never slow down. But pace without purpose is just burnout in disguise. It looks impressive on the outside, but it's empty on the inside. What really moves you forward isn't how fast you can go, but how deeply you understand where you're headed and why that direction matters to you. Knowing your direction gives you peace in a noisy world. It helps you ignore the pressure to compare your timeline to someone else's. It helps you build a foundation that's not shaken by delay, detours, or failure. When you're clear on your path, you don't need to rush to prove anything. You don't need to chase what's trending. You don't panic when things take longer than expected. You trust the process because you've chosen it for a reason. And that trust gives you endurance, because when you're clear on the destination, the speed becomes irrelevant. The value is in the journey, not how quickly you complete it. We often underestimate the power of stillness. In a world that never stops talking, scrolling, moving, and demanding our attention, the idea of sitting in silence, of being still long enough to hear our own thoughts, feels almost unnatural. But here's the truth: the answers you're looking for, the clarity you're chasing, and the breakthroughs you crave don't always come from doing more. They come from listening more, listening to your life, your experiences, and your internal compass that's been quietly guiding you all along. Your purpose isn't found outside of you. It's uncovered within you. It doesn't appear in the noise of competition or comparison. It reveals itself in reflection. Too many people are waiting for permission, waiting for a sign, waiting for someone else to give them direction. But the most powerful guidance you will ever receive is already inside you. You just have to give yourself enough space to hear it. That space is sacred. And sadly, most people are too busy running from one task to the next to ever make room for it. We're taught to look outward for direction. We read books, watch videos, attend seminars, and look to role models. And all of that has its place. But if you rely entirely on external voices, you'll never develop the courage to trust your own. Purpose is personal. It's intimate. It's rooted in your story, your scars, your struggles, and your passions. No one can hand you a map for it. You have to trace the journey for yourself. And that tracing doesn't happen in chaos, it happens in quiet. Think back to the moments in your life when you felt most alive. The moments when time slowed down and everything just made sense. Those moments hold clues. They weren't accidents. They were windows into what matters most to you. What stirred in your heart? What moved you? What gave you energy instead of draining it? Purpose often hides in those small, sacred experiences that we overlook in the rush of our daily lives. Reflection is not passive. It's not a luxury. It's a discipline, and it requires honesty. The kind of honesty that forces you to confront your fears, question your choices, and examine your patterns. It invites you to notice what you're tolerating, what you're compromising, and what you've been pretending doesn't bother you. That kind of inner work is uncomfortable, but it's also where the transformation begins. Because when you get radically honest with yourself, you begin to see where you've been living out of alignment with who you really are. Purpose doesn't always arrive with fireworks and grand revelations. Sometimes it comes as a whisper, as a memory, as a deep knowing that can't be explained but refuses to be ignored, and it will keep knocking until you make time to answer it. You don't need to figure it all out at once. You just need to start by paying attention, start by noticing the patterns, start by asking better questions. What makes you come alive? What brings you peace? What have you always been drawn to, even if you were too afraid to pursue it? When you shift your focus from productivity to purpose, everything in your life starts to align in a way that productivity alone can never accomplish. Productivity asks, what can I get done today? Purpose asks, why does it matter that I do it at all? And that one difference changes the entire trajectory of your life. It transforms every task from an obligation into an opportunity. It turns pressure into passion. It brings meaning to even the most mundane parts of your routine. Because when you're guided by purpose, no action is wasted. Every moment becomes part of something bigger than itself. We live in a culture that worships busyness. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. We measure our worth in tasks checked off, emails sent, hours worked, and how little sleep we get. But productivity without purpose is just movement without meaning. It's easy to be busy and still be lost. It's easy to achieve milestones and still feel hollow inside. It's possible to win at the game of work and lose at the game of life. That's what happens when you chase output without understanding the outcome that truly matters to your soul. Purpose gives your work a soul. It turns your career into a calling. It makes struggle bearable because you know what you're fighting for. It helps you say no to distractions because you know what you've said yes to at the deepest level. And once you start living this way, you realize you don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things for the right reasons. You begin to operate from a place of clarity instead of chaos. From intention, not obligation, this kind of living doesn't mean you'll never face challenges. It means your challenges will have a reason. Purpose gives pain a context. It reframes failure as part of the process, not the end of the road. When you're rooted in purpose, your setbacks don't define you. They refine you. You don't just survive them, you grow through them, and that growth becomes part of your contribution to the world. It's no longer about achieving for achievement's sake. It's about building a life that reflects what you truly value. You don't have to reject productivity altogether, but productivity becomes powerful only when it's in service of your purpose. Without that connection, even your best accomplishments will feel incomplete. But when your actions are aligned with what matters most to you, you can work fewer hours and create deeper impact. You can move slower and still go further. You can rest without guilt because you know you're no longer running aimlessly. You're moving with direction, with meaning, and with vision. So many people spend their whole lives climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Purpose helps you build the right wall before you ever take the first step. It guides your effort, your energy, and your time toward what truly counts. It helps you make decisions not just based on what's urgent, but on what's essential. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't scroll away. Take 30 seconds, write down your purpose, say it out loud, share it with someone you trust, comment below. I choose purpose over pressure. Hit like if you're ready to build a life that means something. Subscribe if you're done living on autopilot and ready to lead with intention. This is your moment. Your story begins the second you choose to start with why.